Network's governance coach. Hello. That's okay. Spiel, spiel, spiel. Words, values, values. Um, my background is as a governance coach, and I often work with groups of people who are doing movement building, who are organizing, who are involved in liberation movements. And something that we often talk about, something that a comrade of mine shared with me, is the experimentation approach as a way to get unstuck. For so many of us, myself included, it can be really easy to be stuck in the pursuit of perfection, of not starting because we want it to be just right. We need to have all of these conversations before we can go. And I really appreciate what the frame of experimentation offers us. It gives us the ability to say, what is good enough for now? What's good enough to try? And to me, the thing that actually makes that possible, the thing that makes that experiment not a situation where people commit to something that they don't know or don't like, or feel, tied down to something that is perhaps never ending, is being able to be really clear about the parameters. What are we experimenting with? For how long? What do we know? What don't we know? And what do we need to be supported on our journey until we reach the end of the experiment? And so this network, I think, is a series of experiments leading up to this moment. There have been many gatherings online, in person. I know folks maybe first heard about the network through the gathering in Cape Town, or maybe heard about the network on a newsletter or from a direct referral. And all of these moments of interaction, all of these opportunities to connect and share ideas has influenced this current version of our network and this current experiment. Irene shared yesterday a really helpful frame around code. And I am not a scientist, so surely I'll butcher it, but I'm going to do my best to represent this idea that in code, there are often many versions of something, right? But at the core, it is often the same code, or that's a piece of what I heard when we were discussing our membership agreement. And I think about the network the same way. Our experiment is helping us to iterate towards the best version of the network possible. So all of these gatherings have been opportunities for input, for co-design and building something that actually works for us. Committee members have really been holding down and sort of was our front line for this more public-facing version of the experiment. Actually trying things out, building and clearing the pathway forward, and seeing what would it look like to build an infrastructure for building CSID tools that works for the members, that centers the members, that fights against exploitation and extraction that is very typical in our field and in the world at large. And so we've worked really, really hard to maybe build out the 0.1, 0.2 version of the network. And this gathering and what's to come is, in my opinion, launching our 1.1 version. Our goal is always to navigate, again, with experimentation in mind, right? How are we being reasonable with what we're asking people to do? How are we receiving feedback about what's working in this version of the experiment and continuing it? And also feedback about what's not working and what needs to change, and incorporating that as well. So this gathering is really a punctuation to me and a launching point for this next version that will include not only the infrastructure that our committees have been building, but also our programmatic work with the working groups and all of the work that might sprout up and become more possible because we've built this infrastructure together. Again, instead of being handed something that we don't like and doesn't work for us. And I think it's a really special thing that we're trying to do. I also want to acknowledge that it is a labor of love, heavy on the labor. Right? Committee members can probably attest to that. And I really do want to lift up a deep belief that anything worth doing takes work. And again, that tension and opportunity. There might be tension around capacity as we try to figure out how do we engage with people who maybe don't have it in them to join a committee, don't have the time to join a working group, but still want to be in relationship. And how do we make sure that for the folks who are really investing their precious resource of their time and their energy, that they see the benefits of that, whether it's funding or training or the opportunity for moments like this to connect to each other. I really, to maybe wrap or punctuate in this moment, the purpose of day 4, our committee work. I think about our committees as our path clearers, moving the debris out of the way so we can move forward, and as our architects, helping us to build the containers that will hold our work. I am a lover of metaphors, often ones that are too complicated. But the simple one I'll try, or that I've been using, is that our committees have been helping us to build the blueprint. And now we're getting ready to put houses on our collective land. Our working groups will fill those houses and make them real. Our emergent programming might pop up and also fill those houses. And our committee members are also the folks who help us remodel as we need to and take care of us along the way. And so again, I think for many, there might have been this question of how does the work that we're doing today, how does reviewing governance structures and talking about outreach relate to tools? But I think the connection that I want to make is that we're clearing the ground for our tools to be successful. This is how we figure out what we need to collaborate in a way that actually works for us. And so I hope even if you don't intend to join a committee, that you see the value in participating in shaping your house. And I'm really excited for more folks to get involved and help to fill it and decorate it and really make it ours. I want to pause for the rest of this call. I hope that that grounding framing resonates and feels helpful. Again, knowing that we all have different relationships with the network, some of it might be repetitive, and I hope thanks for the patience and grace as I bring other folks who are new to our network up to speed. We're going to take a moment to sort of recap what happened today for each other, and especially for the folks online who aren't able to see our visuals. And then the real focus of this time is to talk about what comes next. But before I do that, I want to pass the mic to Angela for a second to talk about our membership and why we're doing this the way we're doing it. You guys are hosts.
I just want to TLDR what Amethyst is so eloquent, which is many of you are part of different scientific communities already, right? You are already in conversation with other scientists. Probably this feels a little different. Yes? Was it different? Okay, all right. Probably a little uncomfortable. I think hopefully you were stretched a little. Maybe you learned something, even that's not about models or tools. I think these are the kinds of skills that we believe are important to practice and learn, to also make sure that our science goes far and goes farther, right? And is supported. So we are keen that the skills that you gain from CSIDNet not just be about building models, not just be about building code and software, but also how to actually collaborate well. And as Amethyst said, that we're really practicing so that we can have a network that doesn't just end when the financial capital and resources end, right? We have been blessed, and I will thank again our friends at Welcome, who believes in this idea that we need a community of practice and who have supported with the kind of seed funding to get us off the ground. But we don't want it to end when their support ends, right? And that's what we are building towards now. Financial support is not the only thing needed for sustainability. We need each other. We need these relationships. We need the trust and, dare I say, love for each other to be able to sustain this network. And that's what we've been trying to build. I think the dinner and the dancing and the good food hopefully helps to augment that. But I am grateful first. I think that is kind of it. So I hope that we have built that.
Angela, the sound was coming off and it's a little bit soft.
Oh, it's probably because it's here.
So that was it. I was just gonna say, thank you for sitting with the discomfort. Thank you for spending the time today, especially focusing on, things that might feel a little less scientific, because we believe that this is the foundation. And from here now, especially as we move forward, we've really sown the ground. I don't know how many farmers. I know we have at least one farm here. Yes, we have more than
Me
one
and
farmer.
you.
Really into that, right? So now I hope that we have this fertile ground within which now the tools, the models, the science, the tech can follow. Over to you.
Amazing. Thank you, Angela. Okay. So to summarize, well, I like to avoid summarizing for you. I appreciate this feedback and guidance from Chikai, Master Facilitator, reminding us that I think I have a helpful perspective as a facilitator. I have a bird's eye view, but you all have been the ones actually in these conversations, leading the work and making meeting. So before this call, we did a gallery walk. Well, we had two, I should say, we had two deep dive session blocks where committees and fellows came together to share about the work that they've been doing. Some of these groups were workshopping a specific proposal or a policy. Some were seeking feedback or just sharing information, all again helping to sharpen and clarify our blueprint for the work moving forward. We followed those deep dive sessions with a gallery walk, which was just there being an opportunity for people to read summary posters for the conversations that they weren't a part of, to be able to still stay sort of up to date and in the know with the conversations that happened. And there was an invitation for all the folks in this room to walk around, read those posters, and share their questions and comments. I believe deeply, ascribe deeply to the principle of, we are meant to have the conversation that we have. That also goes hand in hand with the reality that we are human beings with finite energy and time. And I can feel collectively that we are on day 4. We are on day 4. There has been a lot of work. There's been adjustments to time differences and jet lag. And I'm noticing that these response posters, these opportunity for comment, they're on the sparse side. I think that that's a reflection of the fact that people need to take a break, and also that people often need a little bit more time to process. Some people are ready to share right away, and some people aren't. So I want to share the invitation that for the rest of the time that we're here, please, I invite you all of the participants here, as you continue to process and hear, please continue to add your thoughts. What I'm going to do instead of walking around and summarizing is invite the people who shared deep dives just to share if there are any big takeaways or highlights from your conversation that you want to make sure people in this room know about, and also that people on Zoom can get to hear about. From my insider knowledge, I know that there are also some proposals coming out of the conversations that happened in these deep dives, and there will be space to introduce those to the group as well. So we'll talk about that for committees, and then we'll shift into working groups and talking about what comes next. That's going to be my invitation. And thank you, committee leads, for being flexible with being voluntold. Please feel free to highlight things from your summary posters, and then again, sprinkle in any big things that you want people to know. So I'll start first with membership and partnerships, because I keep making eye contact with Jared. Again, the invitation these groups had. Oh yeah, if you don't mind, this way you can be on camera for our Zoom folks. Invitation is to share a little bit about how those sessions went, the feedback that you got, and if there's anything that stands out to you that you want to make sure other people know about.
Yeah, wanted to say I saw Namu and online, so I wanted to say hi to you. You weren't forgotten. And so our sessions were on the Memberships and Partnerships Committee, going through the documents that we've worked so hard on to try and figure out what does it mean to actually be a member in this network. And we got some really good feedback, saw some blind spots that we had in this process, and that was really, really valuable as we're trying to set up the structure. I guess the two major themes, if I had to try and summarize them, were around questions of cost, lots of questions around that, and then also on clarification in the documents, maybe being a little bit more specific and bringing a little bit more clarity around what are the benefits of being a member and so on. So that's my summary.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. What we might do for ease of sound, I think it feels silly to have everybody put on my headphones, but I might just ask you to hold them because this is the mic that's reaching Zoom as folks come up and share. Next, I'll invite anyone who would like to share from the governance committee about stand out takeaways, highlights from your conversation. Thank you. And so this is the mic if you just talk towards this. Yeah. You're welcome to put it on if you want to. No pressure.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Though we didn't have much additions, but one of the major feedback that we had is how to frame the statement of representation. And then most of the feedback was around representation in terms of ideology, about the skill set, location, and then I think ethnic diversity. So I think the feedback was very, very useful for us to able to frame our statement of representation going forward. So I think that's the major key thing, that was very important in our session.
Thank you. All right, next up, let's bring up Benedict for fundraising and finance. And shout out to Benedict for really holding it down for her committee. Wonderful. Awesome, thank you. Great to have you both. Put it on or just hold it. Oh, other way. Right.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Ivan, and especially I found one Malagasy online, so special hello for her. So for the finance and fundraising committee, I present one policy around inclusive participation fund. In general, we get yes for two things: alignment on our values and also the clarity of the process. It was an easy win because I did a poster. And some feedback is around, it's a comment, like to conduct a little survey after this event to check the beneficiary satisfactions, and also a question around criteria for eligibility. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, next up, would love to hear from the fellows, and all of you are welcome to come, or if you would like to select one representative to summarize your conversation.
I'll put their name because actually I realized they haven't met many of you.
Hey, yo, what's up? No, this is Hat, and two more fellows here, but I also saw other fellows up there. What did we talk about? We talked about three things. So we focus on building local community of practices, and we went all the way from identifying who do we term as community when we say that we're reaching the community? How do we find them? How do we engage with them? And after we engage with them, how do we actually kind of transfer that knowledge that we have gained in such a tailored to the context way such that it can be transferable knowledge to be used elsewhere, right? And I think it was absolutely fabulous and helpful that we got all the feedbacks, including existing frameworks that we could actually go in and apply to our work. Yeah, as well as all the diverse dimensions of these particular things that we could think about.
Okay, and the last group, well, no, emergent. Do we want to? So the last committee that's going to share is the Research and Comms Committee. It's my understanding that y'all had a really robust conversation that has perhaps led to a proposal that wants to be shared with the group. So I will invite whoever would like to rep that conversation in that committee to the stage. Yeah. And again, a reminder to introduce yourself.
Please. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Asad. I am member of the Research and Communication Committee. So we are responsible to communicate the research. Huh?
If you want to sit.
To communicate and to research the community, the network, and to disseminate in the communication channels, all of this. But at the starting of the discussion, many of the invitee or members, they felt that we need that this naming of this committee, research and communication, and that's somewhat confusing. And many people joined to having some components of research in the formal way. But then when he talked about that, we are not doing those research particularly in a way what we understand the research. Rather, it's mostly resonate with the communication part in this whole committee, and therefore we actually did not have the chance to talk about the communication. We have a communication strategy in draft format. So afterwards, we worked on that communication strategy to finalize. It is not yet final, but how to develop or how to introduce CSID within the network and beyond. We discussed about that. We have set up, we have agreed the people we were present on the overall aim of this communication committee, like communication strategy, and also the specific objectives as to promote CSID within network and beyond. That is the overall aim. And then the specific was to make awareness among the members about CSID, not the network like overall CSID, climate sensitive infectious diseases, and also to grow this community overall globally. These things we discussed about, and also to make more members, to introduce more people to this. And regarding this science committee, I think Ragip and Angela also joined the discussion, and we have talked a lot. So this last part, if we need another committee, and if we are interested to make a new committee on science, maybe Angela will work, and he will talk about this. Yeah, thank you.
I'm looking at Kristen and wondering if she came up with the name. I think just to quickly and briefly, so that it does feel like that conversation gets some closure, because it does feel like that would be useful for us moving out of this room to then move forward, is a proposal that I heard. And I'm looking especially at those who were in that conversation to make sure I didn't get it wrong. But it was a proposal to split and to basically add a new committee. So comms committee, which will focus on comms, which I think is clear. And then the creation of a scientific committee whose name is to be determined. Other words such as participatory, open and collaborative science committee, inclusive committee, a lot of different words were put out there, but
a committee that stewards the kind of scientific programming of the network. So I think we want to put it to those who are here in the room, also to those, the 23 who are here, our online friends, many who are committee members, to see if there are any vetoes, to see if there is anyone in this room who feels strongly against creating two committees, and to hold space for that. If someone is deeply, strongly against this proposal, we will table this. We will not move forward on it until we can have more discussion. But if people are not, if there is no veto, hard veto, like a stop, so I think we can use it by, show me a signal, yes, stop, a stop, as a veto against this action. See? I will just come to you. I think it'll be easier that way. And our online friends will just have to imagine what hat looks like and remember. I'm coming to you because of this, yeah.
I have a clarifying question of whether if I think the split is legit, but having a second committee, I disagree, whether I'm agreeing or not agreeing with this proposal.
I'm confused.
So I think the scope should be revised, but I think we don't need a committee to point towards what research we're trying to do, because that's a working group.
Any response to that? I see Isabel, and then maybe we can take Stack if there's someone else who wants to add to the conversation. Yes.
I'm going to give a +1 to that, because I think all of the names that I heard around open science, etc., I think that should be something that is embedded throughout the network and should not be something that we partition to an individual committee. However, I do believe that having a separate committee for comms would be better.
This was a concern that was debated, I think, and the sentiment was that this would almost be like the committee that's default, like to all members, because the idea was that this would be dispersed as a responsibility. But I think that having it in the structure of a committee would help a group to steward it.
And I just want to make a note that we can hear one more comment, and then I want to come back to what Angela introduced, which was we were soliciting blocks.
Yeah.
And if what we're hearing is that there needs to be a block and more conversation, we'll talk about next steps, but we don't have the time to have it.
So I'll be very quick. Just to build on to that committee, what we could do is, if we need a committee to develop some guidelines on open research participatory processes, we could have a lifetime for that committee so that it has a start and end date, and then we institutionalize those processes across. I also think the comms committee could be something around comms and knowledge translation, so that they can also help us to have, to guide us on how to translate the knowledge that is produced.
I hear a proposal to potentially have this be an ad hoc interim time-bound committee.
Angela, there's also some comments in the chat.
Do you want to read them out, Lana?
Yes, so from Naduka Ozor, maybe you can explain what the new committee stands for. And from Adamu, I think the proposal for the new committee is not clear. Is it a scientific and research committee, or comms? Kindly explain. So there's a bit more confusion on what it stands for.
Okay. I will pass the mic to somebody from this committee if we want to answer that question. And then I am going to invite us to move forward, but we'll talk about what the next steps will be. Does anybody from that conversation want to answer the questions that were posed in the chat, just for clarification about the intention behind this separate scientific committee? I know someone has a feeling because it was a proposal.
I think
the question from the chat, I'm not quite getting, but generally I think the idea was that there was a distinction between the comms activities that were very much about engagement and scientific communication and outreach, which it makes a lot of sense. But the thing that I think in the last couple of days and throughout all these conversations that has been lacking is a sense of where is the space for scientific dialogue and conversation. And yes, I completely agree that it should be embedded throughout. However, I will say that like as much as it's embedded, there's been a lot of process-oriented things that a lot of these committees are focused on. And I think that in that we have a lot of process-oriented committees, perhaps it makes sense to also have a committee that is not only about setting scientific agendas for future AGMs, but also a space for conversations about climate, like truly about climate change and about the health science of it. Because as we all know, science is it's extremely evolving and amorphous sort of baby that you have to continuously be talking about and engaging with. And as much as there's the working groups that are very much about a specific output, and my understanding of a committee is that it's sort of a ongoing idea of keeping the network in conversation and in dialogue. And I do find that there's often this talk about communication that seems very endpoint, and there is no endpoint here, right? Like we don't have really a good sense of exactly what we're communicating if the research part is not there. And I'm not even talking about research, I'm talking about the science. So I hope that's kind of getting that across, that this is my pitch.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if folks on Zoom were able to hear the snaps, but there were many snaps in agreement with that or in support of that last comment. So there was not, I feel like people did name some blocking concerns to moving forward with creating that committee right now, but that does not mean the conversation is over. I think the next step will be that folks who are interested, and I'll say two pools, right? Folks who are interested, passionate, committed, hoping to see the creation of this. No, but it's back on now. I don't know what's up with this. No, oh, now it's off again. Okay, there we go. So folks who are passionate about seeing this committee come to life, please, I'll make this reminder a few times. There is the committee sign-up sheet. We'll create a space for the scientific committee to be named formally. And if you are interested in having conversation about what it would look like to develop this committee, and if it isn't ending up as a committee, to figure out what's the body that addresses this and make sure that that conversation continues to happen, please sign up. We'll also invite people who have concerns to also please sign up so that we can continue to have conversation and move that forward. So I know it is often, it feels really nice to tie things up with a neat bow, but part of our messy process is that that's just not always going to be possible. I always want to be able to hold on and point to what's the next step so that you can be involved. So if you want to be involved in that conversation, please sign up on that sheet and we'll have likely a follow-up meeting after the AGM to see how we can move forward. And thank you so much to the people from Research and Comms who proposed it. Again, thinking about generative tension not always being a bad thing, I could tell that it was a spirited conversation, and I'm really glad that those ideas now exist for all of us to contend with and move forward. The last conversation deep dive that happened today was emergent conversations. That was our space for things not covered already. And I love, if we're moving with our farming garden metaphor, it was our compost, which is not, compost gets a bad rap, but it's what helps the soil. It has so many good healthy organisms. It helps us break down our ideas. And so I'll pass it to Angeles or others.
Does anyone else want to take?
Anyone? Okay, great.
Hi, Charlotte, we missed you.
Hello, so I'm Robert. Okay. Okay, so hello, I'm Robert, and I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm part of the Events and Gatherings Committee, and a big shout out to my fellow committee member, Charlotte, who is also part of the online team. She's been putting so much work towards that. So yeah, I was part of the emergent conversation committee, or yeah, today. And yeah, we were just brainstorming ideas on what can be, like, what can we do better in terms of, like, there was an idea of probably coming up with an app that we can use for our internal use, like our communications, our meetings, the conversations that needs to be, like, that we need to have, something like that. There's been also conversations about like things that are happening, like what do we think, for example, there was a conversation about how previously cool, I mean, low temperature regions are now seeing, for example, malaria imaging that were not previously there because of the low temperatures, but now they are not, they don't, like, they have, we can say, maybe limited knowledge or awareness on what really malaria is and how to handle malaria, something like that. So we really had like cool conversations, but yeah, I really liked how people were engaging in that in that community. I'm sorry, that community. The conversations that we had, they were really fruitful in terms of what can we do moving forward. What can we do better? How can we improve our comms? How can we? What conversation do we need to start in which regions? Something like that.
And I think the takeaway from that is that we're going to be working on a proposal to develop an app for this community. So if anyone wants to be part of that, please do sign up on the form there or come talk to us. And if you want to help review that as well.
So I want to extend this invitation to folks who are on Zoom to please share in the chat also highlights from your program. Again, I know the folks on the virtual AGM had a different program. This is our one area of overlap. You all were having different conversations, different panels, and would love to invite just that sharing in the chat for now. I'm realizing, and how could I forget our ad hoc working group committee. And so hopefully while those that information flows in via the chat, we'll hear from folks from that committee, check in with our virtual folks, and then shift into talking about next steps and what will happen after this gathering closes. I don't know if that's Muchiri or Shakira or other folks from the ad hoc working group committee, if you want to share any takeaways, highlights from your deep dive session. You're so brave.
Hi, what's up? All right, I'm Mushiri from the Ad Hoc Working Group Selection Committee. I think maybe I've received so much, and we've received so much amazing feedback. Is Gerald online? Is our other member on the internet? So we've had some very valuable insights coming in from members on the voting process, from the membership committee, from others who brought up issues around how we handle the selection of proposals and how do we prioritize. But I think two things that I put up on the chat, and I'd like to encourage you in the course of the next moments after this to please stop by then, leave your thoughts on a post-it. I think there are two things that really came up as a point of focus. One is trying to achieve some kind of balance, right? So if we get say 50 proposals, and 30% of those are very modeling related, how do we make sure that 15 of the proposals that make it to the community for voting are not all modeling proposals, right? How do we make sure that there's some diversity from that represents the makeup of the network within those proposals for those working groups as well, just so that we can make sure everyone's getting a chance to participate and that we have valuable inputs that are coming out of the working group and into the broader community and changing the world. Can I hear an amen? There you go. Very good. Very good. And the second thing, I think, is something that came up yesterday that we observed even as we worked on the working group ideas, that the ideas that might come up for working groups that are things that are already the business of a committee, of an existing committee. But because of the nature of the working groups and being very focused on something that can be feasibly delivered within 12 months, there's a likelihood that even though some things might fall within the remit of a committee, that working group could very well be able to deliver through a very focused process over those 12 months, an output that has huge additive value, not just for the committee that's related to it, but for the broader community. So I think one of the things that we've been encouraging proposers to do is go back and take a look at the TORs for the committees. If you think whatever you're proposing might be adjacent to a specific committee, just try and see if there's a way that you can pull in someone from that committee to be part of the broader working group, not necessarily a proposer, but so that you can maintain a certain level of alignment. So if you're trying to do something within your proposal that's already being worked on by the committee, then maybe moving your efforts to something else. So that's something to keep in mind, and something that we'll be encouraging everyone to consider as you put together your proposals. So that's about it.
I think one more thing that the committee voted on.
Oh yes,
which was
very important. So do you want to say it, or do I say it? What does Shakira say? I don't know. Okay. As we work towards these proposals and putting them together, if you're considering being a proposer or being a part of the proposers of a proposal, would like to provide new guidance that you can only be a proposer in one working group application. All right, so let's stick to just one. If you have opportunities to be in 3 proposals, look at your 3, pick your favorite. The others won't get offended. It's okay. Just pick the one. Pick the one, and that will be the hill that you'll live forever on. All right, are we together? Are we together? We're together? Are we together online? We're good? We're good. All right.
Yes, Gerald, let's
So are we asking for questions? No questions? Oh, was there a question?
I didn't have a question. No, and I think it's Q&A.
Oh, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any highlights that folks in the virtual AGM wanted to share? And again, there'll be joint follow-up. So the opportunity to learn from each other is not only in this moment. But if not, I'll go ahead.
Maybe just, can I give a quick, I don't see any. Lana, I don't know if you want to give a quick summary, but because I think a lot of the folks here in the room have been less aware of what's been going on, I've been going back to my room and then logging in online every night. So I've been catching the tail end, but just to share that, like, on day 1, which was, first of all, on Sunday, we had friends coming online, gathering. We had an expo that was very interactive. You can still check out the Hive space, where there are about 15 different links to different talks. So DHIS2, our friends there have talked about some of their products. We've got different tools. We have Epiverse. We've got a lot of folks talking about their on the grassroots initiative. So do check it out. There's some really interesting resources in that space. And then on day 1, we had a conversation, especially looking at data, the power of data. Day 2, yesterday, I had a conversation thinking about policy and governance and the importance of paying attention to these environments in which the tools and models are to ensure that they're actually used. And then yesterday, we had day 3, which was focused on community. And it's also been echoed here, right? But who is community? How do you ensure that they are using and thinking with the right stakeholders on these things? So Lana, I don't know if you want to add to that, but that was just high level for the folks here on the topics that they've been talking about.
I actually would love to invite voices from the field, but before that, I would love to show the hi for those who have not seen it. Just a bit of a quick tour of how it looks like. And as you can see, this is where the different resources are. So the opening, the opening remarks of Angela is here. And when you hover through it, you would get a link. And if you open that link, it takes you to the videos and the different resources. So feel free to go through the link. We'll be also sharing this with you. And then another part is I would love to invite specific voices, especially for those who have been here for 4 days. So like Charlotte, Naduka, Samuel. So anyone who would like to unmute and just share your impressions and insights for the days we were together. Charlotte, can I invite your voice?
Okay.
Okay, Charlotte is talking.
Charlotte, and then
thanks so much, Lana, and hi, everyone. I'll just give you a sneak peek of my face, and then I'll go off video because my connectivity is not too good today. All right, so I put in the chat that it's difficult to capture in a few words everything that we took away from the 3 days of conversation. Day 1 was really networking and the expo, but from Monday till yesterday, the conversation was so rich that it's hard to capture in a few words. But to me, the key takeaways were we talked on the first day on the value of data, and what stood out for me was the need for everyone involved, all the stakeholders involved in an intervention to also be involved in the data generation process, and that even the development of apps that are meant for data capturing, the end users need context need to be taken into consideration. So it just highlighted the value of data, not just data for data's sake, but data that can be used for informed decision making. On the second day about policy systems and governance, I think what was really valuable was the fact that policy systems and governance that are usually it could sometimes appear invisible, but they are extremely important when it comes to translating evidence into action that will benefit communities involved. And what still stood out was the necessity to involve all stakeholders of right from the community level to global level in the whole research process, in the whole modeling process, and that is valuable when it comes to the uptake and the use of models and tools. And then yesterday, I think what was most valuable to me and really stood out was that the community is at the heart. Community engagement should be at the heart of every action. Without the communities, we cannot really make good use of whatever we develop. So basically, that's in a few words. Thanks, Lana. Over.
thank you. And then Naduka.
Okay. Sorry, I'm
All
gonna
right.
interject. I
Okay.
apologize as I move around the stage and try to get set up. I know that we are a little behind on time. And so I really want to thank you. It was so nice to be able to hear from you directly, Charlotte. And I'm sorry to not have time to hear more actively and directly from the folks who are online. But sorry, I wasn't holding the mic for that. Y'all could hear. I would really like to invite people to share their comments in the chat. I also wonder if there is a way for us to add virtual participant videos to Hive. I'm just noting that it seems like that platform maybe has the space for us to also get the chance to hear from people and in their own voices, maybe even with their faces. And so that's a question for the tech team who's been setting that up for Lana perhaps, but I just want to make that invitation again, knowing that it really is lovely to get to hear directly from people. And time is fake, but it also is real in this moment. I want to respect folks' time and move towards
So the
closing.
invitation-
Yes, the invitation is to please yes, either in written form, or if you would like to add perhaps your video takeaways from the conference, to please send them to Lana so that we can add them maybe to the Hive High or in another way in the gathering follow-up. Okay, thank you all so much. I'm gonna put the headset. Yes.
I just want to say there are so many people that made this virtual AGM possible, and this is our last time to just talk with them. So I also just want to acknowledge the incredible lift and the labor of the committee, and many of them are here. Jean Demore, Heidi, thank you so much, Charlotte, Ivan. I'm gonna miss folks, but yes, and I see Camille here, who was speaking yesterday. Samuel, who chaired on day one. Gerald, I know you've helped in other ways, just to really, and of course Lana, but to really thank them. I mean, we were spending hours and hours, so I just want to acknowledge all the work that these volunteers put in to put the virtual AGM together. Yes, thank you all so, so much.
Great, okay. Oh my gosh, okay. So I want to talk about next steps, and then we will say ta-ta for now to our virtual participants, and also close out this day in person for folks who are not currently on committees. And so I'm going to speak broadly, knowing that there will be more concrete follow-up to come. Again, our goal is not to do the email thing that we did leading up to this, to condense, but please know that if you're having a hard time following or that you have follow-up questions, the things that I'm saying will be shared with more specificity in written form after this, and there will be plenty of space to invite questions and comments. Either later today before we actually leave, I will open invite to come up and ask me questions, or in the follow-up to the email communication that will happen when this gathering ends. Okay, so next steps, what's coming after this? The title for this, no, I think it's helpful to have folks here. The title for this section was, from recommendation to reality. And that was really the frame for engaging with the proposals and content generated during this, during our gathering. So what comes next? Well, first we all go home. And for folks online, hope you close your computers and take a breather and take a rest. Committees will be integrating feedback from the things that were shared, and again, with the context that these have been proposals building for some time, they'll have some space to decompress, to talk amongst committees and talk amongst themselves about what to do with the feedback that was shared. Some things will be decided and edited within committees. Some things will be discussed and decided across committees, and some things will come back to our full membership to vote on. And details about what decisions line up with that are to come. I'll talk a little bit about what we know, and with the disclaimer that there will be more things to be figured out with the support of the governance committee and in conversation with the other folks who have been holding this work and moving it forward. One of the main things that makes, or one of the central decisions or outcomes of this gathering is establishing a membership body, right? That is one of the many things we've been building towards, is actually being able to say, we are officially and truly CSIDNet members. And then there'll be amazing things that come from that. So we want to, again, there was a lot of wonderful feedback on the membership structure. I think what is likely to happen after this gathering is that we will establish some sort of interim structure, interim membership. This is to give the Membership and Partnerships Committee time to integrate the feedback that was shared when we get ready to launch our formal membership, and to still create a body of people who have the ability to make some important decisions before that final version happens. And so those decisions are going to be selecting working groups, right? That's something that's coming up with the timeline of the fall. So we want to make sure we have a clear body of people who know our work and our values and are ready to vote on working groups. There will also be committee elections. All committees are not elected, but there are two, according to our governance committee, who will be elected. So we want to make sure that we actually have a decision-making body to elect those folks in time for them to start on time and begin their work. And there may or may not also be some policy. I think something that is really important is not bogging our members down. Again, we know we have limited time and capacity, so it will not be a norm that all policy comes to the membership to vote. That would not be a good use of our time and energy. But there's going to be some conversation amongst committees about what things do we think are really important for our members to get to look at and say, I approve of this. And so all of those things are are sort of hinged on having this membership structure that is good enough for now to make those decisions and then move forward. So that will be an action item that will be coming out from the gathering soon. Working groups is the other big big work moving forward that also has some overlapping timeline. So as we talked about yesterday, the application for proposals will be opening soon. There will be a window for those applications to be submitted. We may or may not end up extending that deadline. There'll be communication about that. That application will go live after our gathering. So please stay tuned. Keep an eye on your email for a link to that application to propose and any of the conversations or to-dos specific to working groups. So if you have been somebody who is like, committees are cool, I want to do a project, your time is coming. Your time is really soon. It's after this gathering. And again, once we have that initial membership body established, working group proposals will be submitted. They'll be reviewed and filtered if needed by the ad hoc working group committee. And then those working group proposals will be put to the full membership for a vote. And as we talked about, the full membership will select the top 15 through a ranked choice vote. And then there will be a process for funding that happens amongst the working groups who have been selected. It will be really important that when we communicate about how to become a part of the initial membership or the interim membership, that if you would like to partake in voting on the working groups, you need to be a member before that deadline passes. Again, all of that information will be communicated to you all in email, but I want to flag that that's an important milestone yet to keep track of if you are hoping to be a member and want to support or play a part in choosing working groups and electing committees. And so the criteria for that interim group is again being workshopped, but the idea is that through the end of this year, likely that group is going to be a little closer in, right? It's going to be folks who are already deeply familiar, again, to make sure that the folks who are participating in our first working group selection process are people who know the work and are invested and understand our network. So if that is not you, if you don't end up having an invitation to participate in this interim membership, please know that's not the end. That doesn't mean we don't want to be in a relationship with you. We'll be in communication again after this gathering about how to continue to stay involved, likely be welcoming in a broader group of members when we have our systems developed, when the Membership and Partnerships Committee has time to integrate feedback, and likely aligning with the new committee terms that will start at the top of the new year. And so those are the big points that I want to just flag. My last reminders before we say thank you and pata for now to the folks who are on the call are to please, if you have the capacity, continue to add your thoughts so that the committee members have your feedback to incorporate in the next month. Really, really important. Please sign up for committees if you are interested, especially I want to highlight the scientific committee. If you're interested in being a part of that conversation, please make sure you sign up because we'll be following up with you after this gathering. And stay tuned for emails about how to become a member of the network, which we hope that you all are interested in participating in some way, some shape, some form, and how to apply to propose a working group. That's my summary for now. Again, there'll be space for questions and follow-up later. I want to move us into logistics for the rest of today and tomorrow for in-person folks. And I think with that, we can say thank you so much to folks online. Hope we didn't keep you too far past 4. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh.
So Angela, if you want to close from that end, so we can also do our closing.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
And we don't get to be a part of it. The FOMO is here. We were trying to gently inspire.
Well, thank you everyone for all the. Please turn on your videos. Let us see each other. I'm gonna put on some music again.
Thank you,
And
Lana.
and
Close it up.
for those who need to go already, you can now leave. But I'm just gonna be putting in some beats for us as we say goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining and looking forward to seeing you again. Feel free to sign up for the membership.
Oluwafemi, let's keep in touch. Somewhere.
Yes. And to be part of the committee, here is the link. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Lana. Yeah, thank you. All right.
Talk further.
Till next time. Bye, Charlotte.
Bye, Lana. Charlotte, bye.
Bye. Thank you also to our interpreters. I'll see you again next time.